So, Tracy, hi.
Hi. Oops.
It's a lot of people here today.
It
It's a good
is.
thing.
I think I should take a video of this.
Oh, yes. No pressure. This is going to be seen all over the world.
It's amazing. Hi. Wow.
So let's jump right into it. So you grew up in Bali,
Yes.
Indonesia. Tell us about your early life.
Yeah, well, I grew up, my house is only 5 minutes away from the beach in Bali, in Legian. And so my daily schedule as a teenager will be go to school, come home, eat super fast, pretending to do your homework, and go to the beach until the sunset come. And it was actually so much fun. But that was actually outside of school. But I struggled as a student. I struggled with lots of things. With school and also with friendship. And I remember as a teenager when I was 12, 13, 14, I have a identity crisis. The first one actually my ethnicity. So my father is from Brazil. He's blonde. Brasileiro. Ow! Que bom! So my father from Rio de Janeiro, from Brazil, he's blonde and he have blue eyes. And my mom, she's Indonesian. She have like a lighter skin. And I look Chinese. So when I'm with my parents, they're like, really? That's your parents? I'm like, mm-hmm. Sometimes I think they found me on the beach like, ooh, this Chinese girl, let's just adopt her, you know. I don't know, maybe. So ethnicity is so confusing. In Brazil, they call me Oriental. In Indonesia, they call me Westerners.
Right.
So the second one is actually my name. You know, Tracy Trinita. Indonesian doesn't pronounce Tracy, they pronounce Tracy, and Tracy means smelly fish. How is that for a name? And the third thing is actually for Asians, I'm actually quite tall. I'm 5'11", 181. So my friend will be like, you know, friends, Tracy's friend, and Tracy. Another name in school is actually giraffe, coconut tree, all of these names. So I'm so insecure as a teenager. And my mom thought like, wait a minute, with the height, with maybe the look, maybe my daughter should be a model. So she signed me up for modeling competitions. So when I was 14, living in Bali, and my mom just sent my picture to 3 competitions, but the first one was the Cover Girl competition, which is this modeling competition that every teenagers would love to join. And yeah, that actually started to change my life from feeling insecure. And when I enter modeling world, I find a glimpse of happiness that I never felt before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So again, for those of you who don't know, Tracy is, or I don't know if you still claim it, but a model, supermodel, Indonesia's first supermodel. How was that like, being in this industry?
Yeah. So in Indonesia, at my time when I was teenager, not that long ago, but sometimes ago, there's not many model wants to go international because it was really hard. And I didn't realize how hard it is until I entered the modeling world. But through these 3 competitions, when I was 14, my mom signed me up with the Cover Girl. I won the first place. The same year, I joined the international competition of elite model management, competition called the Look of the Year. And this is where this is the factory for supermodel. This is where, where Giselle, where Naomi Campbell, all these supermodel came from these competitions. And then what happened is that because I won that competition in the international, I get a contract to work in New York City. And just imagine, I live in Bali, in a village, feeling extremely insecure about myself. All of a sudden, from nobody to somebody overnight, my world's just like it's really hard to grasp as a 14-year-old girl. When I walk on the street, people are like, hey Tracy, no more Tracy, which is good. So now they know how to pronounce my name. Thank God for TV and magazine. And it changed everything. I felt like, wow, I should do this. But even though at first I'm annoyed at modeling world because, when in modeling, it looks amazing in the picture, but the backstory behind that, they will do your hair, they put so much makeup, they tell you to pose, they tell you to smile, they tell you to do things that as a teenager, I don't want to do it. But at the same time, ever since I work as a model, I thought, this is the only way that I can be happier. If I have more money, if I have more recognitions, if I have more fame, I'll be happier. So from nobody to somebody overnight, I was the first Indonesian model ever sign a contract with agency around the world based in New York City. So when I'm turning 15, I was begging my parents to move to New York City. And of course, like any good parents, they would say, nope. But I have my charm. I was begging until I cried, and then they actually let me go at one condition, that I'm not going to change to worse,
Right.
that I'm going to do my best with studying correspondence school, at the same time doing modeling in New York City. But going to New York is amazing. I mean, you're from New York.
Oh yes, I am from New York. If you
See, it's
couldn't tell from my accent.
yeah, I love New York City. I lived there for a few years as a teenager, as a model, and I remember arriving in New York City with nobody picking me up. They
right.
forgot
Right.
that I'm coming.
I wanted to ask you, so, being, this young, successful model, living in New York City, you had, success. I'm sure you had money. You have money. You're meeting all these interesting, people. Honestly, with all that's going on, were you happy? Were you contented?
Yeah, not many people actually ask that question because they assume that you're happy. I mean, you're right, because when I moved to New York City, it was hard at the first time. Like, first year was extremely hard because you build your portfolio, you want the world to know you, you want to get the best job, and finally, I got amazing job. Like, I get magazines, fashion show, I did a movie, a very small Zoolander.
Zoolander?
Zoolander, like very, very small, and the minute 18, I think, or something like that. Only 4 seconds of fame. And other things. But it's so strange because on the front stage, I have to pretending that my life is amazing because it looks amazing. I mean, when you look at famous people, it looks amazing. I hang out with people who play in the movie about the shipping ships. I hang out with those rappers, those singers, and I hang out with them in a party. And yet, in the top of my career, when everything's I thought, that's supposed to bring a huge happiness, I found myself feeling extremely empty. And at first, because I'm working in the industry where we fake happiness, it was easy to faking it, and pretending that life is fine. This is the way it's normal. Let's just enjoy it. Let's just party and all of these things. But after some times, the emptiness is really stealing the life of you. I'm no longer pretending because I'm no longer happy, and it's just getting worse and worse. I remember going to a few of my friends who are models, asking them, each of them different question, but the nutshell of the question will be like, have you ever felt this way before? Like, extremely empty, even though you have money, you have recognitions, you have power of influence, you travel all the time, you party with amazing, famous people, and yet I'm not happy. And what's wrong with me? Have you ever had this kind of experience? And they say, like, yeah. When people, almost all my models friends and celebrity friends says like they experience something similar, but the response is actually quite scary. They respond one says like, you know what, Tracy, don't worry about it. You go party, live for the YOLO, you only live once. Enjoy it, don't think about it, don't go deep in your thoughts, just enjoy life, enjoy money, enjoy power, enjoy party and everything. And the second group will say like, you know what, we have experience, that's why we try drugs. That's why, because it's an escape for us. And I don't want to try the first one, I don't know why, I wasn't a believer, but I'm scared of the consequences of a wrong lifestyle. I see in a newspaper, I see it in someone's life, I don't want to be like that. And the second one, drugs. I think because when I was 11, I went to like a mental hospital with my mom, and she showed me those people who use drugs, abuse because of drugs, that's abuse. And my mom just gave me the best anti-drugs campaign and told me like, you see that auntie? She have no teeth because she used lots of drugs. If you want to look like that when you all do drugs, I'm like,
Right.
no,
Right.
the best anti-drugs campaign. So the third one, actually someone suggested this, like, Trace, if you're not happy living, why don't you just die? That thought actually like, it sounds right, but sounds wrong at the same time. So that actually triggered questions like, I don't want to do that because I don't know where I'm going if I die. Like, is it secured on the other side of the world, like the other side of life? Like, how do I know where I'm going, what looks like? And I want an explanation about that. I just remember, for the first time, I thought like maybe, like I'm searching outside first. Like what do I have? No, what do people have that I don't have that I should have?
Right.
So I have money, I have fame, I have good family, I have relationship, I have amazing friendship, I have all of these things. But one thing I realized I don't have is actually a relationship with God. And people looks happier when they're explaining about, oh, the experience that they have with God. But I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, I wanted to ask. So, so coming where you come from in Indonesia, many different religions are represented. It's a predominantly Muslim
It's the
country.
biggest Muslim population in the world.
So you have Islam represented there. You have
Hindu,
Hinduism,
Buddhist,
all
Christians,
all these religions. Why, why or how did you choose Christ in the midst of all of these religions? Why Jesus?
Why Jesus?
Why
Yeah.
Jesus?
Well, can I just give you, because you mentioned about Indonesia. So my family background is my big family. My grandpa from my mom's side Muslim. So most of my family in Indonesia are Muslim. My grandma from Indonesian side is Christian. My Brazilian family, all of them Catholic. And in Bali, our home, we have a Hindu temple. And my parents never talk about God. We never pray as a family. And we never go to church as a family. So I grew up listening and looking at people outside of my small circle of family. They seems to have that relationship with their faith, but I personally thought like that's optional in life. If you want it, you go for it. If not, yeah. But at the time, I don't feel the needs until I was in New York. And I remember in my apartment in New York, I was just praying these prayers, like, because I'm so confused, like which one? Like there's like supermarket of faith out there, but which one that I should trust and I should put my hope for? So I prayed this prayer in my New York's apartment. I was like, God, the one who make the whole universe, please reveal yourself to me. Or you know what happened? Nothing happened. No, I'm actually expecting to be like, yo, what's up, Tracy? I'm God. What do you need?
None of
you
that.
know?
None of
no,
that.
no, it doesn't work that way.
No.
But the most amazing thing is about God is that He answers the cries of human's heart, not in our timing, not in our way, but in His perfect timing, in His way that displays glory. And He did it. But He did not in New York City, though. I love New York, but it was in Paris.
Sure.
When I moved to Paris as a teenager, a friend of mine took me to church. She begged me. Anybody here has been to this place because of someone begging you to come? Thank them, because someone begging me to go to church. And at first I was like, not really, because I normally sleep until late. I woke up only when my tummy like, feed me or something, that I wake up at 3 or something. And she was keep asking me, please come to church. But this is something amazing happened, because when I came to church, first I was very judgmental, like the shoes doesn't match the bag, like the outfit is so outdated. It was 2 seasons ago collections. I was being mean, like I was being mean. But there is something changed when I see the face of the people who worship God. And it looks so glowing and radiant, and I'm like, there's no lighting, there's no glitter, there's no makeup, and yet they look so radiant. And I'm curious, I think God used that. God used different ways to each of us, how He approach us and how He make us aware of His presence. For me, because I love beauty, for me to see the glow, the radiant that I never seen the backstage, I never seen this in the photo shoot, in the movie settings. I'm curious, I'm like, why they're so happy? I want, if because they're happy because they know God, because they know Jesus, I want to know this God. So I was really, really curious and drawn to that. Until my skeptic mind says like, wait a minute, no. Doing an audition. You know how in modeling we do audition? You want a job, you bring your portfolio and there is a judge who's like, smile. Okay, yeah, you can good for my product or something, So now I'm the judge. I want this faith to stand the test of questions. So I'm asking questions. I'm asking like, I put actually 6 belief systems in the front of me. And I say like, you have to answer the same, the same questions. And I want to know the answers to these questions. I asked the question about like, who is the God of this faith? Like, how do I know I can trust the book, the holy book of this faith? And what's the meaning and purpose of our existence? Why we are created? And even the question that I was actually intrigued, the previous one, when the question about death, like, I don't want to live at that time, but I don't want to die because I don't know where I'm going. I asked the question, like, where do I go when I die? I'm actually quite surprised because in Indonesia, a famous word says like, all our faith leads to the same God. But when you ask the questions, it doesn't. They all speak about different God, different books, different meaning and purpose, different destiny. One say you'll be vanished, and one say you'll be. It depends on your past wrong. You can become one of three things in life. You have to be born again and born again to reach perfections, or your good deeds will be weighed against your bad deeds, and hopefully you'll go to heaven. Until one voice says like, you're a sinner. You've done so much wrong in life. But for God so loved the world that he gives his begotten only son. Whoever believe in him, not going to perish, but have eternal life in him. That sounds too good to be true at first. But out of all the contrast of the answer from different faith, I was like, wait a minute. How is the one who have the whole world, the whole universe, came to the world? Why? Why he wants us so much? And why he wants to walk the walk and experience the pain, the suffering of the world, the betrayal of friendship, everything. And ultimately, to die on the cross. And 3 days later, he rose again, and he enjoyed hanging out with his buddy, his old friend, with more than 500 people, for 40 days before he ascended to heaven. And I'm intrigued. I'm curious. I'm amazed that God not only created us, but redeeming us, like at work in saving us, and changing our lives. I think that period of like searching, asking questions, and finally meet Christ. And through history, through Bible, and through meeting people who have their life has been transformed by Jesus Christ, it brings something in my heart, in my mind. It makes sense in my mind of that this is what I need. This is what I've been looking for. I just don't know where to find it, and he found me. But the heart also touched. But there's something that I have to. That moment I have to decide it. Do I want to trust him?
Right.
But I'm so scared to become a boring person, because I thought being Christian means you're going to become a boring person. And that's not true.
Well, I wanted to, actually, that was a good segue, because in the time that we have left, there's a, because, so I'm an actor. I don't do many, I guess, Christian movies or anything. The things that I'm a part of aren't, produced by any church or anything like that. Yet, I love Jesus. I'm glad that I get to speak about him. But there are challenges. Now, you became a Christian. You started following Jesus. Now, what did that look like as a model who also loved Jesus?
Yeah. The transitions to like getting all these informations about Christ that touch my heart, make sense in my mind.
Right.
Lead me to making the decision to put my trust in him. But even though I was so scared, because I don't want to become a boring person, but at the same time, like, Trace, come on, look at your life before you know Christ. It was boring, I was pretending to be fine, but it's empty in the inside. But now you have touch and hear and feels the richness of this new relationship that you haven't committed to, but you already have that relationship. Will you trust him? Will you trust him through the history, to the people that have witnessed the kind of life that transformed in their life? Will you trust him? When I say yes to Jesus, finally I'm just like, you know what? I will trust him. I will put my trust in him. And I felt liberations because God promised that all my wrongs has been forgiven and I have a new life, and he is the God who guides me through the journey of life. But then I'm waiting for that momentum, like, ooh, there's something changed. So I still working as a model, but there's something change. But the change is so natural that people notice. And because people say something to me, I start to notice. Like, for example, my friend like, Tracy, there's something different about you. I'm like, ooh, what is that? I thought it was my hair, something about my appearance. I mean, it's a slow process of changing, but there's a change. And my friend told me, you're happier, you're less grumpy, and you're nicer. And then the next thing that changed is actually working in the modeling world with a different perspective about career, about calling, about everything. And for the first time, I felt liberation that I never had before. When I doing like audition, when I work in the fashion show, like there's no competition anymore. Like if the work is for me, I'll get it. If it's not, it's a blessing for someone else. And I'll be able to forgive those who hurt me. In modeling, you get hurt many times. Absolutely. And I'd be able to actually, for the first time, to live for the audience of one.
That's good.
And that is amazing feeling that I never had before. And I'm no longer worried. And my identity has started to be restored. So I'm no longer worried about my name, because of my relationship with Christ. My name is written in the book of life. in the eternity. And second, I'm no longer worried about, my look, or what I have, who I'm with, um, all these things, what I do. I'm no longer worried because my identity is secured in Christ. Like my security is bigger than what the world can offer, and it brings such a amazing depth. And then the third thing is like I want to glorify, I want to honor the one who made this universe, the great designer of the universe, by being a model for Christ. I want to reflect the book that I read, the Bible that has changed my life. I want to be that person that God told us, if you abide in me, you're going to do these things. And I want that so badly. But God is so gracious. Even when you fail, He will never leave you nor forsake you, and He lift you up again. And this is the kind of God that my heart longing. I didn't know until He Himself found me when I was finally realized of His presence. But looking back, He always been there.
Right.
I never felt His presence because I wasn't aware. I was too busy with the world. I forgot there's a divine God who was intervened constantly to win my heart and to bring me back to Him.
That's dope. In the minute that we have left, if there was a 14, 15-year-old Tracy Trinita sitting in the audience right now, who didn't know all that you know right now, what would you leave as final words for her and also for our audience?
She will sitting in the very corner, somewhere hidden, because she's very introvert and super shy. Surprisingly, model can be shy. I would say, please trust Jesus. Get to know Him historically. Get to know Him. Ask questions about Him. Get to know Him. I also would love to tell my younger Tracy, live for the audience of one, so she won't be too worried about people's opinion, about her look, about her future. If God is God who's sovereign, God will take care of that. Just live for that one amazing audience of one, God. And then I would say the last one is that make sure your identity is secured in Him, that cannot be taken away from you. If it's secured in any other things from the worldly standard, like in what you have, in what you do, in who you with, that can be taken away from you. The most secured identity and relationship is only in Christ alone. And I wish someone preached to me when I was a teenager. So you all so privileged to be here. I really wish I can sit there as a teenager and listening to what we're going to have the next few hours. So please take heart and listen and just say, God, if you're real, speak to me. And may this sovereign God will speak to each of us personally, divine intervention and divine encounter, divine appointments.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you so much.
Give her a hand, please. Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.